Alright, all you glorious gamers out there, welcome to the PlayersToo Podcast, the video game podcast for gamers like you, by gamers like you. You can find PlayersToo on all the social media, that's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, the lot. You can also find our written content over at PlayersToo.com, that's PlayerStoo.com. And if you could take 5 seconds to give us 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts, that would really help us out. It does a huge amount for the exposure of the show, and a big thank you to anyone that's already done that for us. You're an absolute legend. Again, it really helps us out, and if you could take 5 seconds to do that, that would be amazing. Alright, and on with the show. With me as always, Mr. Lewis Camley. How's it going, Lewis?
It's going real well, Mark. I have a week off work at last, and I am finally able to relax and play some goddamn video games, as I've been dying to do for some time. How are you getting on?
I'm alright. I have not had a week off work, and in fact, it's been pretty torturous. But I've managed to play some games nonetheless. But what have you been playing, Lewis?
Well, first up, I've been playing a little bit more of the Outer Worlds, which I had pretty much just started last week when we did the show, and I've played more or less all of the first section of the game, so that's in the kind of Edgewater hub area, if we're calling it that. I'm just about to leave that area, so my impressions of that so far are that I am really enjoying the game. We've spoken at length before, like, I hate Fallout. I basically, I'm just going to come out and say, I do not enjoy the Fallout games. And this is obviously very like a Fallout game.
Listen, it's basically a Fallout game. Yeah. It's ridiculous how similar it is to Fallout.
But the things that it does that I like, it's largely about the world and the characters and stuff that you encounter. Like, it just feels so much more alive, this, and so much more kind of, I guess, like, politically interesting in a way. Like, and that's just my preference. Like, obviously, people are into what Fallout's doing. That's totally fine. But, like, the questions and the kind of dilemmas that the game puts forward right from the very beginning. So, like, I met this barber guy straight up off the bat, and as soon as I started talking to him, I thought, you're a twat, and I'm probably going to do whatever you don't want me to do. And then I just spoke to him a little bit more, and I was like, oh, there's actually just, like, layers and layers. That's what it is, man. This is like a super minor character.
I know. This is what Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas in particular have done really well, and then you never really played those. No. Did you ever play those two games at all?
I played Fallout 3 a bit with you, and you gave me Fallout New Vegas, and I just never touched it. But but Fallout 4 is
you've
probably
done yourself a total disservice there. But yeah, so Fallout 4 was remarkably uninteresting in these areas and was pretty forgettable on the whole. But the Outer Worlds and Obsidian just get what a Fallout game should be, and this is exactly what a Fallout game should be. And as you were saying, like, you can be talking to these minor characters, and they can be asking you to make decisions that you initially think, oh well, those are completely obvious, I'm just like this, and this is what I'm going to do. Then you speak to someone else, and you're like, oh well, actually, hold on a wee minute, this is actually significantly more nuanced than what I thought.
Yeah.
Then you go and speak to a third character, and again, it just builds and builds, just having these dialogues with NPCs. And this is why in Fallout 76, when they were like, nope, no NPCs, none, it took the heart and soul away from the game. Do you know what I mean? That's what made a Fallout game amazing, was all the stuff that you just spoke about.
You need something
because
to
the combat
to,
in Fallout games isn't that great.
No.
The VAT system's pretty good. I like that better than the slow down time system in the Outer Worlds, but that's about it. I mean, the combat in Fallout games isn't amazing, and if anyone says that it is, they're kidding themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's not why a Fallout game was interesting. The reason a Fallout game was interesting, I thought, was because of all like cool scavenging things that you were doing and kind of weird situations that you can get yourself into while doing that. That's something that doesn't happen in the Outer Worlds very much, because although you travel to a lot of different planets and a lot of different areas, all those areas in themselves are actually quite small.
Yeah.
The best thing about the Fallout games was like talking to NPC characters and building this rapport with the world, I suppose, around you. And I thought Fallout 4 fell flat on that personally, and I thought, well, Fallout 76 didn't even broach it, so that to me kind of didn't count. I'm now on the kind of the third main big hub world, I would say, and I'm absolutely loving this. Like, this is categorically my game of the year.
Seriously?
Like, so far, yeah. I've not played Death Stranding yet, but so far this is my game of the year, and it's, quite frankly, it's not that close.
Oh, wow.
Because
that's interesting.
I very much loved Fire Emblem Three Houses. That was great. And I very much enjoyed the Resident Evil 2 remake, which was awesome. Like, the two of us playing that together, that was amazing. But this is just at a totally different level for me. Those two games were great, were absolutely brilliant games. If you like JRPGs, do yourself a favour and get Fire Emblem Three Houses. If you like any Resident Evil game ever, get the Resident Evil 2 remake, because it's an absolutely brilliant game. I really think that this is truly a step above both of them, though. I am absolutely loving it.
Oh, fantastic. I've got to say, like, from what I've played so far, I've been enjoying it as much as I was expecting to, and I really was excited about this before it came out, so I hope that doesn't sound like a detraction. Like, I mean, I bought this and I would never have considered buying a Fallout game, so I like,
to be honest with you, I was shocked at how interested you were in this.
I just got really invested in the promo stuff. I thought it just looked like a world that I wanted to spend time in a way that Fallout I just always thought was like barren and empty and kind of bleak, and this one just, I mean, it is still pretty bleak, certainly from what I've played so far. There's a lot of misery in this game.
It certainly is.
But just
I think it has a much nicer colour palette
totally,
than Fallout, which I think was stuck in the sort of brown and grey era of gaming. Whereas this is a lot more kind of vibrant and colourful, despite the fact that it's still a dystopian nightmare.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's totally it. You know, I've stood on top of hillsides just outside of the main town and like just watched these planets overhead and just been, like you say, like totally dazzled by how the game looks. Not that otherwise it's like a really graphically impressive thing, but also just like being able to play it in the way that I feel like I want to. I think the progression system is really smart, the way that you allocate points to certain chunks rather than kind of really specific skills in the beginning. Changes. So it's that way where I'm thinking in broad brushstrokes about how I want my character to be, but also with an eye on way down the line, like what do I want to be specialising in.
How you behave and how your character acts in the game. I totally agree. I think that the skill tree, which is what effectively that is superb. I think the perk system is absolutely great, particularly when you get to take on flaws. Are you taking on any flaws?
I've only been offered one so far, and when it came up I rejected it because I just didn't want that one, but I was just like, this is so smart. So the first one that I got offered was as a result of fall damage. I kept, is that the same? Yeah, because so I kept, basically I was trying to avoid combat at the beginning, so to get from the first part where you start to the first main mission location, there was loads of marauders in the way, and I just thought, I don't really want to do that yet. I only had a handgun. I've still only got a handgun, and
you need to get yourself some more weapons.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know who you get weapons from? Those marauders you kill.
Well, exactly. But I just kept taking like the high road over the kind of like cliffy bits in the middle, and I fell off that a few times. Never took any substantial damage, but yeah, you just get this big message that comes up, and it's essentially like you can boost certain other stats, and there were stats that I was interested in around like temperament and persuasion and stuff like that, essentially in exchange for taking more fall damage when you fall. And so it's essentially challenging you not to take that route that you keep taking and keep making that mistake in exchange for something better. I think that is a genius system.
I think that's a fantastic system as well. So I first got offered the same one, and again I turned it down because I thought I'm actually falling off quite a lot of stuff, and I kind of leap about with wild abandon in games like this, so I think this is going to be pretty detrimental to me if I take this. So much so that the second one that I was offered was also about fall damage.
Oh, really?
But this one was slightly different in that it was saying I was now uncomfortable at heights because of how much falling I'd taken, and because of that, like my dexterity and things like that were going to be lower if I was shooting for someone from above, effectively. And I was like, God, that's really cool. I turned that one down as well, though, because I was like, no, because I do that all the time. But the third one I got offered was
just right.
Was just right. No, was to do with the I think they're called raptidons. Is it? I can't remember what they're called exactly, but they basically spit acid at you, right? And I'd clearly been taking a lot of damage from these, and it came up and said, "Oh, you're now less resistant to their acid attack." And I was kind of thinking to myself, well, I actually really like this flaw system, but it's difficult to accept a flaw for your character, which in itself is a great thing within the game. But I kind of thought, right, I want to play along here.
Yeah, get on board.
I want to do this. I want to get on board with the system because I think it's really good. So I was just like, yep, just let's accept this. So now they do more damage to me.
Nice. That was exactly my thought process.
And I got a perk point.
Yeah, when the right one comes along, I'm going to take it because just because I want to see what influence it has over how you play. Like, I think it's one of many really interesting things that Obsidian have done with this game, and I can't wait to get stuck in more. What a
superb studio. And as a PlayStation fanboy, I am so gutted that Microsoft have bought them. Honestly, if they do a sequel to The Outer Worlds, that might be good enough for me to buy an Xbox. So that to me is an incredibly good acquisition by Microsoft. All right, Lewis, you've been playing Death Stranding.
I have been playing Death Stranding. Speaking of incredible exclusives, I have played about...
Nice that. You see that, how this PlayStation hat came straight on there and turned it right round.
I've played the first 6 hours of Death Stranding, and I know that because there's a quality in-game counter, which is very important for these things.
Yeah, definitely missed from most PlayStation games,
And my God, Mark, my God.
Tell me some things, Lewis.
So Okay, just some broad brush impressions.
Before we start there, actually, yes or no, up or down, yay or nay?
So far, a big fat yay from me.
A big fat yay. I like it.
Well, I'll caveat that immediately. Like, I think that it is stunning. I think it's stunningly beautiful. That was the first point I was going to make. And I'm running it off an OG PlayStation on a pretty standard setup. Like, I don't have an amazing telly or whatever. It looks gorgeous. Like, it looks like a game set in the rugged Highlands of Scotland.
Awesome.
Which for me particularly, like, it is almost constantly raining. You don't get enough of that in games.
Yeah, that's nothing that we want to escape from in Scotland.
I can totally understand what people's problem with this is, right? The gameplay that I've done so far, as I say, I've done 6 hours. Most of that has been either cutscenes or essentially tutorial work. And that is something that definitely also happened in Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, a huge proportion of that game. I remember being hours and hours and hours into that game and still having systems introduced. And that is what's happening now. So I can totally appreciate that some people might lose their patience with it. The actual gameplay, it's exactly what you think that it is. It is literally put some stuff on your back, try and stay balanced. That, like, the main actual gameplay is jiggering between the left trigger and the right trigger, or holding them both in order to stay upright and balanced. That is the meat and potatoes of this game, right? That cannot even begin to do justice to what is happening in the game. So
honestly, ladies and gentlemen, if you can see his wee face,
I just like,
it's full of glee.
I've been just mulling this over for days. I was trying to explain it to my girlfriend the other night, and it just was like, where do you begin, right?
Yeah, and not your non-gaming girlfriend has to be pointed out.
Like, one thing I want to say straight off the bat, right? All the weirdness, all the Kojima weirdness, obviously it's there, and it's there in spades. I've seen all of the promo material, right?
Yeah, this is like Kojima Unchained.
Unchained, absolutely, yeah. And so, like, and the game doesn't really go to any great lengths at the beginning to explain what even a lot of its terminology is, but there's a gameplay reason for that, and things start to become revealed because of things that are happening in the game, right? Because of the effect that you are having on the world creates new knowledge for you, and I won't say any more than that. So you just have to go into this with a certain amount of just kind of giving it a shrug and going, okay, you've just said a thing that makes absolutely no sense, but I'll just go along with that and hope that it kind of becomes clearer down the line.
Metal Gear was a bit like that.
Exactly. There are so many echoes for me of Metal Gear. There are very definite references to Metal Gear within the first couple of hours. Not huge things, little turns of phrases, little iconographies that come up. Also, the performances. I've never seen Norman Reedus in anything. I didn't watch The Walking Dead, but he has been a fantastic lead character so far in terms of his performance. The little snapshots that I've had so far of Mads Mikkelsen, and I won't say anything about what's going on with his character, largely because I don't really know yet. His performance is stunning. Like, I feel like I'm just watching Mads Mikkelsen do a TV show or whatever, right? A TV show is important, I think, because you might have heard this being described as having certain chapters so far. It describes everything as episodes, and I think that is kind of how the game sees things playing out. I think it's going to progress in such a way that each kind of episode is almost self-contained within what it's trying to tell you, but then will like lead nicely into the next one, right? And I think that plays into Kojima's whole filmmaking and interest in wider culture than just gaming, right? But some of the mad shit that is going on in this game, Mark, like it's just unending. So one of the very first big major things that happens is actually something that we saw in full in one of the trailers, where, like, I won't go all into it, but like things start levitating, a guy appears, someone gets dragged down into the tar. When we watched that trailer, and again, like, if you've avoided everything,
as in one of the very first trailers, if not the first trailer,
probably the first one that was more than just like the name and I think the very first thing we ever saw was the beach with all the crabs and stuff on it, right? Yeah, but so not that one, but the first one after that, where it's like a car gets attacked.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
So that is sort of at the end of the prologue section, right? So it's about an hour or so into the game. But that suddenly put in slightly more context from what the game gives you up to that point, takes on so much more importance. The end of that sequence, which I won't explain, I don't want to spoil it for anyone. There's a thing that happens right at the end of that, a small moment that, watching it again now, knowing just slightly more about the world that we're in and what's happening and what's at stake, I was horrified. I sat there, like, honestly, kind of hand over mouth, and like, fucking hell, like, this is really serious. What I'm going to be doing in this game is very important within the world of the game. So there's all of that.
Wow.
I'm finding it super fun because it's largely like those bits of, and it definitely deserves these comparisons to Breath of the Wild and to Red Dead Redemption 2, where you are just kind of exploring, you're just kind of wandering around, seeing how to get to places, seeing what might be there, right? That is a large part of the gameplay loop, and I find that very fun. Now, again, I totally accept that some people will not.
Yeah, I think particularly there's been a lot of Red Dead comparisons. I think that game was perceived to have been quite divisive, but now that it's just come out on PC, it's actually like just scored like a 90, 93 or 94 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, you say it's divisive, but not critically.
Not massively, no.
But the reason why some people were turned off by it was because, and I would describe it as unapologetically slow. To start off, you're not like some high-flying cowboy. No, you're in a small band. You're taking your time. You're making deliberate decisions, and it slowly ramps up and ramps up and ramps up and ramps up and ramps up in such a big, amazing way in that game. But that's obviously all very grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Whereas Kojima has no bounds.
No, has no bounds, but still like works with them to a certain extent. Like it is also very slow. Even the intermission parts where you're just like sorting out your loadout, checking in on BB, all that kind of stuff. Like you can spend ages doing that stuff. You don't necessarily need to at this point, right? But all of the menus and systems and obviously all the cutscenes, man. It's not a Kojima game if it's not just laden
thousands of
cutscenes.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I was paying attention in the first 2 hours, like how often I actually had hands on sticks, and it's like not a hell of a lot.
I mean, that doesn't put me off.
No,
because I love Kojima games,
Yeah.
and I expected nothing less than this. But just to bring it back to the gameplay, are you enjoying that?
I am.
Is it something you would describe as fun? Because I know that this is quite a thing. Is like, does a video game have to be fun?
Yeah. A game doesn't have to be fun, no. And this,
A game doesn't have
and
to
this
be fun.
isn't. Like, it's not fun so far. Like, it has fun moments. And like, I just did my first kind of proper combat sequence earlier tonight, and that was quite good fun. Like, the combat was better than I was expecting it to be, but it's terrifying at points. The first time you encounter the BTs, which are sort of the ghostly apparitions that you'll have seen in any promo footage, the first time you encounter them, it's more or less a set piece, but it is horrifying. It is like really, I find it super tense. I played similar sequences in like Metal Gear. That's the biggest comparison there, like the skulls section in Metal Gear Solid 5, where you are sort of very underpowered in comparison to them, so you're just kind of creeping away. That stuff, you know, it's not fun, but it's difficult, intense and horrible. But the one fun thing that I will mention, or the thing that I was most kind of concerned about and that I think is working so well so far, is this perpetual online quote-unquote strand system, whatever the hell we're calling it, where other gamers can leave signage across the map.
Yeah, so this is like the passive co-op.
Yeah, I think it is extraordinary, to be honest, because I'll just give you one quick example, right? One thing that happens at random throughout the game, and is, I think, very stressful, is timefall, which is just rain, right?
It slows down time.
No, it makes anything it touches age, and so effectively for you, what it does is makes all of your containers that you're carrying weaker because they are aging. So you have to try and find respite, right? You have to find like shelter, and there's no other symbology on your map. There is nothing going on, and so all you've got to rely on when you go onto your map is any symbols that other players have left there, and that's only once you've started to like explore certain areas or unlock kind of watchtowery things. So I was doing a bit last night where suddenly there was the first human enemies. The game hadn't even told me there were human enemies at this point. I just saw them on the horizon, and I knew from another player's markers that there were BTs further down the line, which was going to be horrifying because I was going to have to creep through a certain area. And then this rain started, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like how am I going to get through this? And I looked at the map and I could see certain players had left little tracks, and they'd left ladders in different places to get over big, you know, rocky outcrops. And one person had left a sign that said, "This is a timefall shelter," which is essentially just a cliff face that you could kind of duck under to avoid the rain. And I followed that, and that got me through the mission. And suddenly I was home safe after a bit of a disaster, but I won't go into that. And I just, honestly, at the end of that, I was just like, this system works. It just works. Like, it is
That's
so
really cool.
interesting.
Because obviously other games have done this before. Bloodborne in particular is the one that I was most familiar with, and people could quite easily be dicks in that and just say, oh, there's this great treasure chest round the corner, and you turn that corner and a big monster cuts your head off. Could people like fuck around with you in that capacity?
I guess they could, but the idea is that when you approach a sign, you kind of give it likes. So when I booted the game up this morning, I got a bunch of likes from other people having liked certain things that I'd done, and that then goes into my upgrades. The upgrade system and the whole stat thing hasn't really been explained yet. I've not had to do much with it, but you get this kind of diagram every time you finish a mission that like starts to expand in certain ways. Also, what you can do, if someone did do that to you, you can demolish their sign. You can just take it down. So
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's like
So you could just take down all these signs
if you did that, if someone said like, come here, this is safe, or there's loot here or whatever, and you went and it was actually full of BTs, you can just take their sign away. I don't know if that would take it away from everyone else's game or whatever. I think it probably would. But yeah, it is genuinely about connecting people and about helping each other across this landscape. And that is the heart and soul of the actual narrative. It's incredible.
Wow.
I cannot wait to play more, man.
As
I'm saying it, I cannot wait to play more.
That's awesome. I must admit, you've reinvigorated my want to play the game as well. Not that it was particularly diminished, but just hearing you talk about it like that, like, I'm so on board.
Good.
I don't really think that there was any way that I wasn't going to like this. Like, I'm totally willing to admit that I'm a total Kojima fanboy.
Yeah.
Two of his games are in my top 5 ever. There was basically no universe under which I wasn't going to like this. It's just how much was I going to like it.
And I'm sure after 80 hours it might feel too much, but after 6 to 10 hours, like, I am so ready for more. So.
Nice one, man. Well, I'm determined to finish The Outer Worlds first, but when I do, I'll be on it immediately.
Good stuff.
All right, Lewis, and on to the news. All right, and news item number 1. Sticking with Death Stranding, Lewis. It's been everywhere. It's been everywhere this week. But starting with the UK charts, it debuted in number 2 behind Call of Duty Modern Warfare. No big deal. Call of Duty is an absolutely gigantic game.
Titanic, yeah.
On multiple systems. Fair play. And actually, in the gamesindustry.biz article, which I'm getting these figures from, again, all articles that we use here are in the show notes at playerstoo.com. They actually said that Call of Duty Modern Warfare is 26% ahead of what Black Ops 4 was at this time last year. So a marked increase for them, I've got to say. In the same gamesindustry.biz article, though, it says that it's the second biggest new IP of the year, behind another PlayStation 4 exclusive, Days Gone. Now, if you'd told me at the beginning of this year that in its launch week, Days Gone would be ahead of Death Stranding, and not just ahead, Death Stranding has sold 36% fewer units on launch than Days Gone. If you'd told me that at the beginning of the year, I would have mortgaged my house to put a bet on that wasn't true. It seems remarkable.
It does to a certain extent, yeah. Like, particularly because Days Gone just wasn't that well critically received, at least. But it has always charted really well.
I mean, from like a gamer's point of view, like, I don't really see people going out their way to like shout about it.
No.
Do you know what I really think that this is? It's a result of Death Stranding coming out at an incredibly, incredibly busy point in the year. And Days Gone came out when there was nothing round about it.
Totally. And Days Gone is just a simpler concept to get. If you're a relatively casual gamer and you're sitting in a cinema and a trailer for Days Gone comes on, you see zombies, you see a motorbike, you see a kind of gruff hero, you're on board. Like, you don't need a lot from that.
Sons of Anarchy meets Walking Dead.
Exactly.
What more explanation do you need? You know?
But like, when you see a trailer for Death Stranding, and particularly if you're not a gamer who's familiar with Metal Gear Solid, you're probably going to look at that and just think, what on earth is this? Like, how could I ever begin to know what's going on here? So in that sense, I'm not surprised. 36% down.
It's quite a lot.
That's quite a bit. That's more than I would have expected, for sure. I think on top of, I think you're totally right about the release window. I think also it's the kind of game that a lot of players might have waited, even big time gamers might have waited to see what the reaction is and may consider getting it like at Christmas rather than paying for it up front.
I think a lot of less casual, more serious gamers, if that's what we're calling ourselves, might be in a position like me where they are
in the middle of something else.
I'm definitely going to play Death Stranding. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, like, that game is getting played.
Yeah.
But I'm just in the middle of something else that I've just finished explaining my love for, that I definitely want to get finished first, because I know that if I don't, I'm going to lose something about it. You know what I mean? There's a certain continuity that goes along with games like that, and I just don't want to lose that by interrupting it with something as big and expansive and as deep in itself as Death Stranding. So I think a lot of people might be in my position. Like you said, it's a bit of a harder sell than Days Gone, particularly for people who don't really know who Hideo Kojima is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still quite surprising. Still quite surprising, I'd say. Speaking of quite surprising, Hideo Kojima had some hilarious comments about what was it, the American reviewers that reviewed the game. Speaking to an Italian website called TGCom24, he was being interviewed and he said this.
I must say that the game received rave reviews, especially in Europe and Japan. In the United States, however, we've had stronger criticisms. Perhaps it is a difficult game to understand for a certain type of critic and audience. Americans are great fans of first-person shooters, and Death Stranding isn't one. It flies higher. He then went on to say, I always try to create new things, and disputes and discussions are fine, but it must be said that the Italians or the French have a different artistic sensibility that allows them to appreciate this kind of very original product, not only in video games but also in cinema.
So Americans, you're all uncultured troglodytes. Nothing compared to those Frenchies.
Yeah.
I really don't think that this is probably as bad as it sounds. You need to remember that he is speaking in Japanese to a translator who's then translating what he's saying into Italian, and then that is then being written down in Italian and is then being translated into English for us to all hear it. There's a lot that can be lost in the weeds there, you know?
Totally.
At the same time, do you think that there's any truth in this?
I think there's like a sliver of truth in it.
It's not, can I just say, like, it's not that we're having a go at Americans. It's nothing to
Please
do with that.
Please don't switch off.
No. It's absolutely nothing to do with that. We're also definitely not saying that these are uncultured or anything like that. That's absolutely not the case. But it's very interesting that, and I actually noticed this as well. Like a lot of the reviewers that were giving it much lower scores were American. Yeah. Like I noticed that myself. It wasn't anything I thought was particularly interesting to comment on, but obviously the Italian gentleman conducting this interview felt differently. But I did notice that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it comes down to what the staff of sites in America versus, like, so one of the reviews that you'll see on Metacritic is like IGN Italy or IGN Spain or whatever, right? Yeah. So they've got different staff in different territories who are reviewing the games differently. I think it's way, way, way too simple for Kojima or anyone else to say Americans like these things and Europe likes these things. But
yeah, that's
but there is something in that sentiment. Generally speaking, European culture is kind of, I don't want to even say like on a different level, but like it just has a different kind of background, a different people approach it in different ways. We are different cultures, like between mainland Europe and Britain and the United States.
Yeah.
So
and as well, even if we're extrapolating that further between the West and
Japan,
Japan and the East in general, you know what I mean? Just totally different cultures, and things resonate differently with different cultures. So I think of a lot of what Kojima does resonate well in Japanese because he is himself Japanese and understands that culture and knows what's going to, well, as like I said, resonate with those people. And at the same time, if that same thing resonates more with Europeans than Americans, then okay. Yeah. I don't really think that says anything about anyone, but fair enough.
Exactly, yeah. It's just like horses for courses, right? And it's also just comes down to like, if he is framing this, essentially he's framing this here as like, I've made an art house game in the way that Europe makes art house cinema and America makes blockbuster cinema. Now, obviously America makes art house cinema as well, right? Of course it does. But it just has different attention on it, different kinds of economies behind it. So I don't think he's actually done himself any favours with that statement.
I think, no, absolutely not. But the thing is I suppose, is that Europe doesn't make blockbusters. Exactly. Really, is kind of what he's trying to get at.
Totally, yeah.
All right, and news item number 2. Pokemon. Now, last week, I said, I'm not looking at any of this news. I'm going to wait for the game. I'm not interested in any of this. However...
You cracked within 3 days of release.
I mean, I have cracked. There's no two ways about that. But I felt as if the rage got to such a boiling point as well. It felt as if every single time I went on to our games, there was a new thing that someone had found that was like, shock horror. This thing's now happened from like, so I think basically what's happened is that people have got into like data mining the game, and they've been able to find out quite a lot from that. So I'm going to say some things now, right? But basically all the outrage about it, all the things that people say are wrong, are either massively overblown or I simply don't care about. Okay. That it seems to fall quite neatly into both these things. So some very, very mild spoilers. So I'm going to say, for example, how many Pokemon are in the game. If you consider that a spoiler, maybe skip ahead a minute or so. But like nothing major. I have been trying to avoid spoilers myself.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
So this will be exceptionally light, if anything at all. So the national dex is gone. We know this. There will only be 400 Pokemon in this game. Right. You've laughed there. Quite frankly, I still think that's too much. And I know that's a controversial statement. I was more than happy with Gen 2, 250. Totally happy with that.
That seems like enough to me, yeah.
Lovely
amount.
I'm
laughing. 400's crazy.
Including the new Pokemon introduced in this game, I think that there will be... I don't know if this is exact, so if I'm wrong about this, please feel free not to contact us on the internet. But it's round about 890 total, total Pokemon, right? Can you imagine? Can you even fathom trying to balance that? Can you imagine trying to balance 400?
No, even that would be tough.
I mean, good lord. See, to be honest with you, I actually don't think they've went far enough with this. I think they should have just went, no, we're We're stripping it right down.
Yeah.
Like we've got like a whole bunch of fan favourites and loads of new stuff.
Here are the new ones, and here are the classics that we couldn't get away with not putting in.
Yeah, so I would actually have liked them to have gone further. Now, look, seriously, like, people have been using Pokemon, like, for generation after generation after generation after generation, and now you've got to a point where you cannot play with that, and that fucking sucks for you. Like, I'm not trying to diminish anyone else's complaint. That isn't the case for me, so I don't really care about this, and I struggle to summon the energy to care. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm just like, this just doesn't matter to me, like, at all. This will not affect my enjoyment of the game at all. I do not play competitively. I have no interest in playing competitively. Above anything else, like, Pokemon is just like, it's just a fun, light-hearted, dumb collectathon. Yeah. For me, that's how I see this. And people take it so painfully seriously. Like, they really know how to take all the fucking fun out of it, quite frankly. Nonetheless, look, that does suck. If you've got Pokemon that you've been using forever and ever and ever, and you are quite genuinely attached to, and you can't now use it in game, that sucks. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't. I'm not trying to diminish that. That is a bit shy. It seems as though you will be able to keep it in this Pokemon Home system that they're now introducing, but whether or not you'll actually be able to use it in Pokemon Sword and Shield, up for debate how likely that's going to be. Another thing is that they've cut a lot of like pre-existing moves, right? This has come out of the data mine. A lot of kind of classic moves as well. Yeah. I don't understand why anyone cares about that. As long as they're being replaced with other moves, it's not necessarily a like for like, but it's this thing that you basically are nostalgic for something else new that will it's just a different thing. It's just different moves that it now has. Like for whatever, like a Pikachu for whatever will have maybe a slightly different moveset to what it previously had, which changes from game to game anyway. Mm-hmm. And they might just be called different things, or they might be like slightly different, or they might be changing it up so that they have less normal moves and more of their type. And I cannot summon the energy to care about that. Yeah. Like, I am blown away at how many people were like really annoyed about that. Now, there are some legitimate criticisms of this. Are the graphics in this game great? No, they're not. But it's a Pokemon game. Again, I don't really care that much.
Not why you're there.
That's a legitimate criticism though, because I mean, there are screenshots, and keeping in mind that the game hasn't actually released yet, so we'll see what it actually looks like on day one. But there are screenshots of like Let's Go and from like people streaming the game, and you can see that. Quite honestly, Let's Go sometimes looks better.
Yeah, that's not great.
It's not great. Again, I'm not really that bothered.
You're not playing Pokemon for that.
My favourite experiences of Pokemon are on the Game Boy. See, if they went back to that, I would be head over heels in love with it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that I, again, can summon the energy to care about. Is the pop-in a bit rough? Yes. Was it rough in Let's Go? Yes. Was it rough in bits in Breath of the Wild? Yes. It didn't ruin my experience of any of these games. Have the animations been reused? Yes.
From previous games?
Yes. They're also like, oh, well, you've also just like tweaked character models. And I was like, these Pokemon have been established for years, decades now. Yeah. How different were you expecting them to look? Again, there's weird complaints out there as well, like, oh, it's too easy, it's very hand-holdy. It's a kids game.
Oh, it's for I'm glad kids. You said that, because I didn't think I was allowed to say that.
No, again, look, this game is targeted at children. Like, I have no problem admitting that. I fucking love it. Mm. But it's targeted for kids. Target demographic for this is probably people under the age of like 15. Yeah. It has to be handholdy. Like, I understand looking back, and if you've got your nostalgia hat nice on and going back to like Red and Blue, and they weren't very handholdy, but like since Gen 3 onwards, it's really been pretty handholdy. Really, and they've really decided, oh no, well, our target demographic is obviously children, because obviously it is. Yeah. And we have to cater to that to a certain extent. And they have, and I don't have any problem with that.
I wonder,
see if it's a wee bit handholdy, like they're really emphasising that I should probably go to see Mr. Whatever down in such and such town. That's probably where I should go next. Didn't have to say it 3 times, but again, they're probably targeting this at a 5-year-old. Yeah. So it seems like they're taking every single opportunity to just shit down its throat. Like, honestly, it's like, oh, what outrage have we got today to jump on? I don't understand what people were expecting this game to be. But do you know what I was expecting? A fucking Pokemon game.
Yeah, just another update.
From its reveal, it was basically like, yep, it's more of the same, basically. And I was like, that's a bit disappointing, but okay.
Yeah, there's certain things that they it felt to me like they should have pushed forward. Like, you know, they've got these new wilderness sections that are a bit more free roamy, open worldy.
Again, I'm not even saying that these aren't legitimate complaints, but the sheer level of outrage around it is just unbelievable. Again, they really know how to suck the fun out of Pokemon.
But like,
I mean, these are supposed to be fans.
That's the thing. Like, I was just about to say, like, the two things that get the suckiest reactions are people on the internet and fandoms, and that's like two combined. But I can imagine if you're a diehard fan that you might be like, you keep bringing out games that are catering towards kids, new generations. It's always about onboarding new kids, and you've forgotten that actually it's people like you who are like nearly 30 years old who have been playing this for a long time, who like maybe there's an argument now for like a serious adult version, you know, or like just a super hard difficulty mode within the game or something.
I mean that, see, be honest with you, there should be difficulty modes. There's no reason.
Is there not any difficulty choices now?
Not that I can remember. Not that I can remember from previous ones. There certainly never used to be.
No.
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't think that there is difficulty modes. But again, all this kind of goes into like the competitive scene and all that, but really I think that a lot of these problems, even the bringing the Pokemon thing through, this is going to affect less than 1% of people that are going to buy this game. Even of that less than 1%, I reckon less than half of them probably give a shit that much. Do you know what I mean? I really think that the amount of screaming about this game has been done by such an unbelievably tiny minority, a loud minority, and again, not without, this game is not without fault. I just think it's all got real nasty, and I don't like it, because Pokemon's fun, and it's lighthearted, and it is childish, and I like it for those things. And I could quite like it to be left alone.
Well, when the mob comes to our door, you're answering, right?
I'm sorry, mob. I'm sorry. I do love Pokemon. All right, news item number 3. PlayStation, Lewis. It's had a bit of a shake-up at the top. Most recently, Shuhei Yoshida, the kind of public face of PlayStation for a long time, is stepping down as head of PlayStation Worldwide Studios. A gentleman by the name of Herman Hulst, who is the managing director and co-founder of Guerrilla Games, will be taking his place. Guerrilla Games, of course, famous for the amazing Horizon Zero Dawn. Shuhei will now, quotes, focus on nurturing external independent creators, which is quite cool, but almost definitely a step down.
Yeah.
This comes only a month as well after Sean Layden left Sony and PlayStation for reasons unknown, and the only announcement that we got about that was a tweet, which was a bit
not having that.
No, that was pretty shitty, to be honest with you. Sean Layden definitely done a lot for
what PlayStation is right now.
Yeah, for what PlayStation is, and that, as much as I was saying, like Shuhei Yoshida was like the public face of PlayStation for a long time. Like, so was Sean Layden, you know, and it just felt as if he was like tossed aside in a weird way. Also, as well, Jim Ryan was promoted to SIE president and CEO back in April, which also effectively demoted John Kadira at the time, who was in that position. There's I believe he's like a deputy president or something like that. It's an odd sort of title that he now has. Yeah, so I don't know, it just seems like a lot of shake-up at the very top, at the very, very top for PlayStation in quite a short space of time. In quite a short space of time at a very critical time. I don't know, like, how much do you read into that?
I mean, I don't want to read too much into it because there's obviously way more going on than we would ever know or understand, but I'm not massively concerned about it. The Sean Layden thing did concern me, like, because of the oddness and the speed of it all. You know, at the time, I think there was a lot of chat that, you know, maybe something bad had happened, and there's never been any confirmation.
No, although I think there has definitely been rumblings that when Jim Ryan got promoted to president and CEO or whatever it was, that Sean Layden was the one that, or he certainly thought that he was the one that should have been given that promotion. And or that, again, this is pure speculation. But these are the rumblings, and that their relationship was a bit tense, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, it might just be that. Then it might just be a case of before the next system comes, and really before the whole kind of cycle for the next system comes, we better put our house in order a little bit. To be honest, I'm quite excited at the idea of Yoshida taking over a kind of very focused indie development strand of what they're doing.
I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's great. He's obviously focusing on indie developers, external indie developers as well, which I thought was quite interesting. Maybe trying to bring some of them into the fold at PlayStation. And I mean, what better man to do it than him, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, that is a definite step down. If I mean, at most, a sideways step.
Yeah.
What I will say, Herman Hulst getting promoted from Guerrilla Games is amazing. He's responsible, as far as I'm concerned, for one of the best games this generation. And I don't know, it's nice to see that being rewarded. Hopefully that will result in more better PlayStation exclusives in the future, you know. But just outside of that, it's just a lot of change.
Yeah,
a lot of change quite quickly.
It's something for people to keep an eye on, I think, as we go forward towards the next console generation, because it's surely been done for all the right reasons, and I totally agree. I think like Herman Hulst being there, it's an indication that they want someone in charge of Worldwide Studios that knows how to create new IP and knows how to do inventive things with new IP, and that's obviously what a lot of PS4 exclusives in the last year or two have been doing. So that, I think, is very exciting. But yeah, we just hope that the business side of things all kind of plays out. The one thing about the Yoshida move, I feel like there was a quote right at the beginning when we started talking about PlayStation sort of 5 properly at the start of the year, where they'd said something around it's kind of going to be more focused on hardcore gamers. I was trying to find the actual quote there and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, but the quote seemed to suggest that they were focusing on it, the PlayStation being for hardcore gamers, and the indies would be not given a back seat, but they would be less of the focal point.
It was sort of a bit like, we will build it so they will come kind of thing.
Yeah, but also that was kind of backed up, that statement was kind of backed up by the fact that at TGS, I'm not sure if it was this year past or the year before, the indie section of the PlayStation area was substantially reduced from years past.
Well, I just think that if Yoshida is taking over something there, that might mean that actually the indie side doesn't fall by the wayside a bit. So that should be pretty exciting.
Maybe they just want to re-emphasize it.
Yeah,
and again,
exactly.
If they want to re-emphasize it, then who better to put it?
Exactly.
All right, and news item number 4. Google has confirmed the lineup coming to Stadia at launch and in 2019. The games that will be released at launch are Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Destiny 2, Guilt, Just Dance 2020, Kine, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, Thumper, and the Tomb Raider collection, which includes Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, all that, and Samurai Showdown. They also have a section on their website, and they've decided to show this on their website in slideshows. It's a total disaster. It's so bad. However, they've also got a section that says 2019, and 2019 will be coming Attack on Titan 2, Final Battle, Borderlands 3, Darksiders Genesis, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Farming Simulator 2019, Final Fantasy 15, and Football Manager 2020. Then under that, they have also in 2019, the most bizarre layout of any launch piece of media I've ever seen. Also in 2019 is coming Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Grid, Metro Exodus, NBA 2K20, Rage 2, Trials Rising, and Wolfenstein Youngblood. Lewis, is any of that interesting?
Literally only Guilt, I think, out of all of that. I mean, there's obviously some fantastic games within that, but they're all...
Is there anything there that is making you want to get Stadia?
No, plain and simple, no. There's nothing there that I think would convince anyone who isn't already convinced.
Quite honestly, this is a really bad lineup of mostly old games.
Yeah, games from even a year or two ago now. And by the time this is properly out with...
But I mean, even things like Borderlands 3, which had just come out, I mean, I feel that you've kind of missed the buzz around that. I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of people still playing that, but yeah, it's just you've kind of missed the buzz around it. Kind of Rage 2 wasn't as big a thing as it probably should have been at the time. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, we all know the problems with that had and has clearly missed the mark. Again, Red Dead 2's just come out for PC, but again, it's already out for PC. It's already out on Rockstar's launcher. It's out on Steam. It's out on Epic Games Store. By the time this actually launches and it comes out on Stadia, it's old news. You know what I mean? If you want to play Red Dead 2 on PC, you can and you will have done before then.
For almost all of these games, you will have done it already. That's why Guilt is there. I think that's their only exclusive. That's the only one that's kind of interesting that I've never played out of the collection there. And it just seems to me like the delay of Doom Eternal has kind of killed this launch lineup. It seems to me they hung quite a lot on that. Doom's such a big part of gaming history that would have been a nice one for them to have attached to their launch.
Well, they do say at the very bottom of this odd blog that they've done about this that more titles will be coming to Stadia, including Doom Eternal, Watch Dogs Legion, Gods and Monsters, and Cyberpunk 2077. And we've just seen that 3 of 4 of them have been delayed into the latter half of next year. So yeah, bit underwhelming. I would say, kind of altogether. This launch should either be called early access or it should have been a lot better than it is.
Totally.
All right, just finishing off with a couple of shout outs. Shout out number 1, as we said, Red Dead Redemption 2 has come to PC. Hurrah for the PC master race out there. However, the launch was a bit rocky. It seemed lots of problems. It seemed even with people logging on to even play the game seemed to be an issue at certain points. However, it does seem as if a lot of those problems have now been fixed or patched. Kind of citing a CNET article here, which we'll post on PlayersToo.com. So hopefully you can get stuck into that. Absolutely fantastic game. If you've got a PC and you've been waiting and holding out to play it, don't let that rocky launch put you off. It's a superb game. You'd be doing yourself a disjustice if you didn't play it. Shout out number 2. Fatal Fury's Terry Bogard has joined Smash Bros. Ultimate. Is this the last or second last DLC character in the first?
Second last, I think.
Yes, second last. A bit of quick Googling there for Lewis. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, so if you've got Smash Bros. And you've got the Fighter Pass, definitely jump on and check him out. And shout out number 3. The redesign of the weird Sonic Lewis has been revealed today. And it looks a hell of a lot better, I think you will agree.
Yeah, this is for the Sonic movie.
This is for the Sonic movie,
it looks
yes.
Categorically, definitively better than
yes, but the movie looks equally as shit as it always did. Yeah, go and check it out. I just think that the story around this is wild, but man, that movie's going to be fucking dog shit. Not even the great Jim Carrey can save it. Alright, time for a beer, and we'll be back with Topic of the Week. And we are back with Topic of the Week. Topic of the Week this week is a discussion about our gaming backlogs, Lewis.
It is indeed, yeah. It's just that point in the year where for gamers, you've got to realise that you're not going to get to play everything in 2019 that you really wanted to.
God damn you, 2019.
And this hasn't even been like an absolutely standout year for games. So we just wanted to have a quick kind of run through of some of the titles that like ideally we would get to before the end of the year, maybe even before kind of Game of the Year discussions kick in. I guess I was thinking particularly, we've spoken a bit about Pokemon today. That's certainly not something I'll be playing before the end of the year. You may or may not. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is also out the day after you'll hear this podcast.
So is Pokemon.
Yeah,
Jedi
exactly.
Fallen Order and Pokemon come out
on the same
day.
weekend. So this is the last kind of major big release weekend of the year, and it just seemed like a good point to kind of look back on some of the really, I mean, looking at the list I've got in front of me, some incredible games that one or either of us haven't got to yet this year. So let's just kick it off. Like, Mark, what big games from 2019 have you been dying to play and haven't got to yet?
Well, honestly, the one that stands out for me is The Outer Wilds, which I know that you've been playing lots of.
Yes.
And listening to you talk about it, listening to other people talk about it at the time, I know that it is right up there in people's Game of the Year chats. And I'm just like, well, I've got to play it.
Yeah.
It just sounds quirky and interesting and innovative and doing something different. And I always like games like that. I also always like supporting indie developers that are doing something like really interesting, really bold and really ambitious, particularly when it pays off. So that is definitely top of the list for me.
Nice one, yeah. I mean, also, like you mentioned indie devs, but like everything Annapurna puts out always feels like something to me that is worth checking out. And that
Annapurna is worth supporting.
Yeah, and that would probably be one of mine. Actually, it's the only one that I don't have on my list, but you talking about that just reminded me, is Telling Lies, the game from Sam Barlow.
Yes. That I still have it on my desktop.
Yeah.
Now. Yep,
nice one.
I can show you it if you like. Yes, I have not played that either.
No, so like I've never yet played Her Story either, but both those games are to me like on the cutting edge of what really interesting game developers can do, particularly indie developers. It wasn't like phenomenally well received at the time necessarily. There's a bit of debate about it, but I just think like anything that plays with a form of video gaming, particularly anything that can kind of introduce new mechanics
totally
and
agree.
new
Like
gameplay styles.
Yeah, thinking about what is a video game, you know what I mean, like how can we explore this in different ways, even taking away what a video game is, kind of like interactive entertainment and things like that.
Exactly, yeah. That's a really interesting way of putting it, actually.
Yeah. And just doing it as something new and different, and I admire that. I always admire people that are kind of trying to push the boundaries, even if it doesn't work first time round. You know what I mean? There's always
exactly if it doesn't work. Like you can not enjoy these games, but still be like, fair enough. Like I'm glad that exists.
Totally. Another one for me is Borderlands 3, honestly, which I have still not got around to playing.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, Lewis, me and you are going to play co-op immediately after this podcast.
Extremely soon, yes.
Yes, and I am very excited for it. I was excited for it at the time. It was one of these games that, again, just came out at the wrong time. I can't remember what I was playing, but I was too busy for it to even think about something of the scope of Borderlands. I absolutely loved the second Borderlands. I only played the first one a wee bit, but the second one was really, really good. I'm quite excited to go back in and play this again. A lot of people find the world of Borderlands a bit corny, shall we say. As corny as the word corny sounds. Yeah, but I don't know, it just always sat well with me. It always seemed as though it was doing a good thing most of the time. we shall say. I always just really enjoyed it. Gunplay was good. The fact that you can get like a bazillion different randomly generated guns sounds a bit gimmicky, but when you're actually playing it, it's actually really good fun most of the time. Yeah, and I'm really excited to kind of play it. And as well, it'll be one of the first co-op games we've played in fucking ages.
Yeah. It'll be my first Borderlands experience of any creed or colour. I've never touched any of the other ones. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it just from the perspective of something that might be really fun and not very serious at all, given everything else that I'm playing just now.
It will not be.
I guess like sticking to fairly recent releases as well, and this was one that I put out onto our social media actually as being like kind of top of my sort of list of games that I'm keen to get back to at the moment, and that is Luigi's Mansion 3.
Of course,
which particularly just like the reviews really kind of
get enough of Luigi.
I love the underdog, man. You gotta like the unloved brother. Don't know what that says about me, but no, I thought this game always looked really fun, but I just kind of wanted to give it a shot. I've played pretty much every other major Nintendo first party release this year, so like the Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe and Mario Maker 2, and this was just like, oh, I'll try out this next one. But then the reviews came in and it's absolutely killing it, and it was like, I think their biggest launch of the year, I think the biggest like first party Nintendo launch this year.
I think so, yeah.
Which means it beat like Link's Awakening and stuff like that. It did
definitely beat Link's Awakening, which I was surprised at.
Personally. Yeah, the reviews were killer. Some of the comments we got back on social media were people saying it's just like so much fun, like really enjoyable kind of level design and stuff. So I hope that's going to be my kind of Christmas period game. Lo-fi, sit in front of the TV, you know, full of turkey, and I don't eat turkey, but full of vegetable alternative to turkey, and you know, just playing away at that. I think it's going to be so much fun.
Vegetable alternative. I suppose one of the biggest ones that I'm thinking about is Disco Elysium, actually, which I also put out on our social media this week. But I know for a fact that the devs have confirmed that this is coming to consoles next year, and I'm just thinking, should I just hold off, or am I just asking for this to drop the week before Cyberpunk comes out? You know what I mean? Then you're just into the whole situation, you're just kicking the can down the road.
I hadn't even considered that, but that's totally what's going to happen.
And then it's The Last of Us. I mean, then Watch Dogs is in there somewhere, you know?
Like, you want it first part of the year because it's still so fresh then, but it's
see, if it came in January, I would be ecstatic.
Please deliver it in January, because if you've not caught anything about Disco Elysium yet, go and look it up. It looks totally incredible.
It looks absolutely wild. It looks like, in the truest sort of sense, a kind of D&D game, but in a kind of detective-y noir world that I'm just so in for. Everything that I've read about it has been overwhelmingly positive, I would say, and I just really want to play it, but I'm currently stuck in the middle of an enormous RPG right now.
Totally.
But I'm very much looking forward to getting stuck into that at some point, hopefully when it comes to consoles, if not before.
Nice one, man. And if you get any other, like, just generally speaking, like big backlog games that you've always wanted to get back to, or you've always meant to go back and play?
One that I've always meant to go back and properly finish is Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, of course, man.
The Phantom Pain.
I always forget you haven't done that. Done enough.
I've rolled the credits. I know the things, but I haven't done some of the important post-game stuff that I really should have. What about you?
Like, one of my big ones, it's not the only one, but one that I keep thinking about just now for obvious reasons, is Final Fantasy VII.
Yes!
Which
Lord Jesus, yes!
I have never, ever played.
Do it!
And I think I told you this last week, I have bought it now on Switch. Just at a moment, I had like a spare 10 quid
this
at the end of my
man.
pay
You totally
packet.
play it.
Again, like, I think that is going to be one of these games I try and pick up properly over Christmas, and just like, there'll be a wee bit of clear time there.
Is it the proper PlayStation 1 one with like the dodgy polygonal graphics?
It's what everyone they're selling on the eShop, but it's the OG, you know. Yes. It's probably some port from later on, I guess, but like, I'm excited, cautiously excited, and I'm playing it basically because I want to experience it that way before playing the remake, which I think just looks amazing.
Fair play, man.
Can I just very quickly list some other games that I had in the list here?
Sure.
Include incredible sounding games that we have been trying to get to for ages, like Katana Zero.
Oh god, it's on my Steam wish list, and in actual fact I got an email I think yesterday saying that it was discounted, and I was like, should I just buy this? But see, if we were doing my indies backlog, we'd be here all night.
Well, that's it, yeah. So there's also like Unravel 2, which we said we were going to play together. We've not got to that yet.
Nope.
Dangerous Driving, which is the game from the Burnout devs, the original Burnout devs, yeah. Also, Gears 5 for all you Xbox gamers out there. That's the only Xbox game this year, I think, that I would be really dying to play. Then also mainly for you, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is still one that you've not got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this might be the first Call of Duty in a long, long time that I'm not going to play at all.
Ironically, the campaign, as horrible and awful as I think it might be in certain ways, it's the first time I've been genuinely interested to play it. Well, I don't I kind of want to watch you play it, but I don't want to be complicit. You know?
That's interesting. I suppose the only other one that I was thinking of talking about games that I want to go back to, or that I wish I'd spent more time playing, but realistically I'm not going to go back to it, is Sekiro.
Yep.
Sekiro was fantastically good.
Yep.
I'm never going to go back to it. I've just kind of settled that with myself. It's kind of like Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Like Bloodborne, I got into Bloodborne, I kind of started playing it. I kind of got to the point where I was like semi-competent. Never going to go back to it. And I just kind of know this within myself.
I totally agree. Like I actually keep genuinely checking for like trade-in to see if I can get it cheap in a trade-in. Because exactly that. Like I feel like I'll probably not get back to it anytime soon, but would really love to. So I mean, that's probably a Game of the Year contender that we haven't really sunk enough into.
Absolutely, it's definitely up there for Game of the Year contenders, and I'm sure it will be for a lot of people.
Yeah.
The final one that I just wanted to mention, which was Platinum Games Astral Chain.
Which
I think that at some point I will eventually get to, because I do very much enjoy Platinum Games, and this was supposed to be a pretty good one.
Yeah.
And I'll pick it up in the eShop at some point, basically.
It didn't feel like one that you needed the buzz for, but it looks pretty good, like well received. So good stuff. Yeah, a lot of games in 2019.
Lewis, there's so many games, so many good games. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive that the biggest thing we have to moan about is the fucking Pokemon game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll call it a day there. I'd like to remind everyone that you can find PlayersToo on all the social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, the lot. You can also find our written content over at PlayersToo.com. That's PLAYERSTOO.com. And if you could take 5 seconds to give us 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts, that really, really helps us out. Again, I know I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There is a reason every single podcast you listen to asks you to go and do this. It really, really helps us out. And for anyone that's already done that for us, thank you so much. And if you could take that 5 seconds to give us 5 stars, it really, really does mean a lot. It really does. I'd like to remind everyone that our game for this month is Limbo, which is a game that I think we've both played it before, haven't we? And I'm really, really excited to go and play it again. It's a pretty short experience. I totally loved it the first time round. I only played it that once, and I'm very excited to go back and play it again.
I feel like all of it will
good game.
I feel like all of it will have been kind of forgotten about already as well. So like quite excited to go back and
I can still remember how to do the last bit because I've struggled on it so much. But apart from that, I've basically forgotten.
Nice.
It's a really great game if you can get it cheap at all. I know that there's like double packs with Limbo and Inside. Inside is another incredible game as well.
Yeah, same developers play Dead. Yeah,
same developers as well. Absolutely. So if you can get the two of them together, I would recommend that as well, particularly if it was going for a good price. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week.
Thanks.